Hello and welcome to the Broken Funnies podcast, a show where we talk about trauma, comedy. Is it connected? Is it related? Today we're joined by the very funny Krystal Evans. Hello, Krystal.
Hi, Martin.
How you doing?
I'm good, yes. Thank you. I'm very honored to be asked to do this. Thank you for having me.
I'll thank you for coming on. This is my first one. I don't know obviously when it'll go out, but I'm a bit nervous, as you know. But it's a lovely space. And
You should be. I'm a total bitch.
I hear you're a total diva.
Total diva.
You know, but the first question I want to ask you, and you don't have to answer it, it's like a two-part question.
What if I just said no? No, I don't want to answer that or that.
We'll just sit here in silence.
Okay. Sorry, what is it?
The first one is, your first gig, or do you think there's something traumatic in your life that made you funny? I know it's a bit heavy, so you don't have to answer it. But yeah.
Wait, the first part is my first gig, and the second part is, did something traumatic happen to make me funny?
Well, my thing was, if you don't answer the traumatic bit, then you can just answer the first bit, or you can answer them both.
Okay. Yes, definitely trauma has made me funny.
Me too.
Definitely. Word.
Yeah.
Fist bump. Yeah, no, definitely. I talk about this in my show a little bit, but actually I kind of talked about this more and then cut it out because I felt as interesting. But yeah, I mean, God, there was a lot of chaos and turmoil in my childhood, and humor was just how we dealt with all of it. You know, my mom's side of the family is so funny. Like they just make the most inappropriate jokes at the most inappropriate times, and it just lightens the mood, and it just makes everything okay. And like, I feel like we have this weird self-awareness in mom's side of the family, like where we're just like, what the hell is this around us right now? Like even in the weirdest time, we can just like laugh about it. And it takes the power out of dark shit, which sounds so cheesy, but
no, that's true.
It kind of feels like, coming home a little bit, because you're like, even the worst bad thing doesn't have to be so bad. Do you know what I mean?
I always measure it by how the traumatic thing and then how long it takes for you to joke about it.
Yes.
Like I had a really bad solo show the other day, and the promoter cut my time early for the solo show because he was waiting for the other audience to come in.
Yes.
So there'd been a muck up with the times. And the solo show was only to like 6 people. And I got off stage and this guy was like, that was really good, but did you know your fly was open the whole time?
Fuck off.
I was like, would you like to punch me now as well?
Wow.
But immediately I thought, oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
You know, I can use that on stage. Not have my fly open, but the anecdote, you know what I mean?
Hell, did you record it?
What, the whole gig?
Yeah.
No, I didn't record it. It's not going up anywhere. That was a disaster.
It's just burned in everyone's mind who watched you.
Yeah, I mean,
gosh.
I could sense it at the time, but I thought it'd look weirder if I should have just made a joke out of it, but there was so much.
But you didn't know until afterwards, right?
I had a feeling that it might be, but I was like, no, but in my head I was like, it might not be, and then if it isn't, I'll look weird. And also, it's gone horribly, and I didn't want it.
Yeah,
it's not like I could own it in a funny way and then zip it up.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it was weird.
I mean, yeah, it's bad gigs make us stronger. But if you've gone through bad things in your life, I feel like bad gigs are easier to deal with because you're like, oh well, I've been through worse than this, and do you know what I mean?
I just like suppress the feelings and get on with your day, and then turn it into a joke.
Yeah, that's what we all do. Yeah.
So did that make you, being out sort of your funny family and stuff, did that inspire you to try stand up?
Definitely. And my mom was really into stand up. And we all were they were just generally comedy fans as well. So my favorite show was Seinfeld growing up. Seinfeld. And I literally went from like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers to like Roseanne and Seinfeld. Like I never had any like teen year TV. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Like I was like, if you had
to pick Seinfeld or Roseanne, what one would you pick?
Oh my God, that's really hard. I love Seinfeld. I mean, Roseanne, they're different shows. They're completely different.
Roseanne's got a bit of heart to it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Seinfeld is like no hugging, no learning, right?
Except when she wins the lottery, then it goes a bit mental.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's Roseanne's last season. We don't talk about that. I just started watching stand-up specials from a really, really young age, and I really, really loved it. And I mean, God, it's like I've known a lot of comedians like this who they say like, oh, I come from a funny family and I'm actually the least funny one of the family, but I'm the one that ended up doing stand up. And that's definitely me.
Oh,
like,
that's interesting.
yeah, like they're all like, you really? Like you're like not even, do you know what I mean? Like, cause they're all very loud as well and very like, loud sounds mean, but you know what I mean? They all talk over each other. They're all very like high energy and I'm always just kind of like, I was just like sitting there listening and very quiet. And absorbing it all.
But are they funny in like, oh, they're a bit of a character, or are they actually kind of make funny jokes and do bits? Both, yeah.
Both, yeah. Like my Aunt Kelly, did you see my show? Like
I didn't, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, my Aunt Kelly, she's at the end of my show. I have a little slideshow at the end and she makes an appearance. And she's like a massive character. And she's just like so hilariously funny.
I'm going to try,
like,
you're doing it tomorrow, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and come to that.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the 5 o'clock show, so I might kind of hang about. But yeah, so what was your first gig like?
I have well, my first gig that I consider my first gig was the Stand in Edinburgh. So it was just too. Red Raw, you know, and it was in 2017. And it went well. It was 5 minutes, and I did really weird material, and I mean, it went well, but you know how Red Raw is. Like, it can make it can make you feel like, oh my God, I'm great at this.
I mean, this is going to last forever.
Gonna be hard. Yeah, like.
Then you do your second gig in front of 4 people, and you think this is going to be the same.
Yes, absolutely. I think my first really hard gig was at Liberté in Glasgow. Do you remember that?
I remember that gig, yeah.
Run by Callum Wark, was that his name?
Might have been.
Oh my God, I can't remember. He's got gray hair and dark glasses. Glaswegian.
I thought it was from by Graham Barry. I might be thinking of
Yes Bar. Yeah. That I had many a hard gig at Yes Bar.
Same.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, so that was like a wake up call when I started gigging in Glasgow. I'm like,
did you think the second gig? Did you think in your head that it was going to go as well as Red Raw?
Yeah, I did. I was like, yeah, I'm obviously the best ever. So
yeah, and you're watching the other acts. You're watching the other acts going, well, they're not going to do as well as me.
Yeah.
I got that reaction at Red Raw, and that was in front of more people.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. More people must be harder, but it's not.
Oh, more people, yeah.
More people's easier. And it's weird because it's like, yeah, I mean, I've heard many comedians say this, but it's like the more you go on with your career, actually the easier the gigs get, because you like build a fan base and you start doing things like theaters and all these things where actually, you know, people are comedy fans and whatever, and you start opposite. You start doing the hardest gigs possible, which is like in the basement of a pub where people don't even know there's comedy on, and they're all rowdy and they're all drunk, and you know,
they're the worst ones.
Yeah.
Well, you're interrupting someone's night, basically, saying, "I'm going to try and make you laugh now."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, with comedy, I was never one of those people that brought all the mates.
Oh my God, no.
It's horrific.
No.
Why would you do that to your mates?
We all know that comic who not just one, but a few who will start comedy and bring 15 people.
I remember one time at a uni gig, she'd brought all her mates and she was second on. And so she left and she took 15 people with her, and that was the whole gig.
Jesus. I had my husband came to my very first gig, and my best friend at the time, and then she came with her husband, and they sat at the back, and I was like, do not say that you know me. Do not, you know what I mean? They were like, play. And I was like, you don't have to come. You don't have to come. And they were like, no, we want to say what we want to say. I was like, okay, fine. And I let them come, but I did not want them to come. It's and I mean, after that, I don't think, God, my husband comes to maybe one gig a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's like another gig you have to do with them afterwards.
Oh God,
regardless of how it's went,
I know. I still have most of the people in my life don't understand comedy, which I'm fine with. They'll be like, "Oh, what you up to tonight?" I'm like, "Oh, I've got a gig." Well, that's exciting. I'm like, it's not.
You're going to do your wee comedy sketches?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, they think that doing a gig is something I do 3 times a year or something.
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they don't realize that I do it 4 or 5 times a week or something.
And if you say you're professional, be like, oh, you're getting cocky, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. They're like, well, I haven't fucking heard of you. I'm like, okay.
That's the annoying thing about comedy, is that people haven't heard of you. They sort of patronize you a bit, and they assume that you must be failing at it somehow.
You must be a struggling artist that is
Remember, I told the takeaway guy once, I said, I've been doing it about 10 years. He went, 10 years? You must be international by now. No, just make my pizza, please.
You're like, are you international with your fucking takeaway business,
exactly.
motherfucker? Yeah.
So, the second gig went badly, and then do you remember how you felt after that? Like, oh Christ, this is harder than it looks.
Yeah, that was really bad. I'm trying to think back. I don't know what it is. I was always the type of person before I did comedy where I would try something and then I would quit. Like a lot. I tried a lot of different things. I tried a lot of different careers and a lot of different hobbies and stuff. And I'm the same.
This might be one of them.
Yeah. So glad I got in for the first episode. But yeah, and then when I did comedy, like it sounds so cheesy, but I was like, oh, obviously this is what I should be doing. Like it was just so obvious to me that this is what I should have been doing the whole time. And I vowed to myself, I'm like, no matter how badly this goes, you need to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I said that to myself. And also I'm like, you're fucking 30. You need to do this now. You need to do it now and keep doing it because this is it now. You have to do this. And you need to be. And I told myself, like, what do I want to do? Well, I want to be in comedy, whatever that means. I want to be in the business of comedy. I want to, either do stand-up or writing or whatever. I just have to do it. And so I vowed to myself that no matter how many bad gigs I had or whatever, that I wouldn't let that like get under my skin and stop me. So I did. And I fucking have kept with it.
I think when you have a love for the craft as well.
Yeah.
For great comics and, like Roseanne and Jerry Seinfeld and people like that.
I'm a comedy fan as well. I love going to comedy shows. I love that I get to see a comedy show like most nights of the week. That's like so fun for me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, my friends are comedians. That's crazy. Like,
there's a certain type of comedian I think it's like, oh, I don't watch comedy. I'm not a nerd.
That's
you know what I mean?
Fucking mental to me.
I think, what?
I'm sorry. It's crazy to me.
It's like, oh, I'm just doing this for attention.
What the fuck?
It's
like saying I'm an author and I don't read books.
Yeah.
Or like I'm a chef and I don't eat food or something. Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? Why would you want to do comedy if you don't like comedy? If you don't like watching stand-up? I know comedians who... I get it. I also should say I don't want to be judgmental. Like I know everybody has their own process and stuff. And I know some people are like, oh, I don't watch comedy because I feel like then it makes me start having a style like that person. But like, I don't know. For me, it inspires me to watch other stand-up specials. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And I of course, I wouldn't like take something I saw on a stand-up special and copy it. But I might be like, oh, that's amazing that they went that direction with that thing.
Yeah.
Or that they went that style with it. And then, do you know what I mean? That's working for them. And it's just like... It helps me to be exposed to different kinds of comedy, especially ones that are different than my own, because it's just inspiring. I don't know. I just fucking love it.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. Months ago, I done a gig with Milton Jones, and I was really nervous because I had to follow him because he was going off to do another gig.
Wow.
And we're quite similar in style, sort of one-liners, and I thought, oh, what if he says something that I do, and that means I can't do it anymore, or similar setups, and I was so nervous and. I might not watch him because I don't want to get influenced. Mm-hmm. And I literally just sat and watched him and was amazed because he's brilliant. And I was just a fan again. And it felt so nice, to be just a fan.
Yeah, to just sit at a comedy show and just enjoy it rather than like worry about, well, I guess you were going on next. So
I was worried about that too.
And how did it go?
It was fine, yeah. Yay, it was okay. Good. Not as good as Milton, but it was still okay. I got away with it, as I always say.
I've had to follow famous people quite a few times and... I've been like shitting myself. Yeah. And almost always it's gone fine. Like it's gone totally great. And it's almost like you're buzzing, the audience is buzzing off who they just saw and they're just like still happy about it. And then they're just like, wow, they're like in such a good mood because I think they're like, oh, we can tell people we just saw Tom Stade or, Josie Long or something. And
I think famous people they get a bit of a break up front, don't they? Because they get oh my God, they're here.
Yeah.
They still have to work to make people laugh.
Absolutely.
So who have you followed, famous people?
Tom Stade, Josie Long. Oh my God, who else have I followed? Russell, not Howard, not Brand, Russell.
Russell Kane?
That's it.
Oh,
Russell
nice.
Kane. I followed Russell Kane. That was incredible. Was
that like a support slot?
No, it was he showed up as a surprise at a gig that I was doing in like Manchester area.
Oh wow.
It was amazing because this audience were like, it was like a very small suburb of Manchester. I couldn't even tell you what town it was. But he showed up and they had no idea that he was coming. I mean, they were just over the moon to see him.
My God.
They were freaking out. And yeah, they were just lovely. And they were lovely for the whole rest of the night. He just came on first. And so he opened it and then he got into a taxi and like zoomed back to the train station or whatever. But God, who else have I followed? Oh my God, I can't remember. I'll have a think, but that's it, really.
Do you want to pick a random question?
Yeah.
I wrote a bunch of
a random question. I like this. This is a game.
I was panic writing a heap of questions out on cards, thinking I've got to do some sort of prep.
Like some sort of game.
You won't be able to read it because I'm severely dyslexic.
Okay, great.
Don't look at that. I'm very dyslexic. That means no one can understand it. What do you think it says?
Let me see it.
I wrote that in a rush as well. That's not like my good writing, but
I know what it says.
What?
Worst heckle.
Yes!
Yes! I can read.
The Da Vinci Code or something.
Oh my God, worst heckle. The thing is, I think when comedians get asked this question, they lie. Because your real worst heckle...
It's not going to be a funny story.
It's not a funny story. It's a sad story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just tell the real one then. So...
Go for it.
Since it's a trauma podcast.
Yes.
I was 9 months pregnant and I was in the north of England again. Shout out. Sorry, I just shit on them twice. No, my last story was a good story, but nothing. No, it was a lovely gig up until this point, right? It was Matt Reed hosting. It was a theater. I don't remember the town, but it was like the audience were just lovely. But when I went on stage, there was just one woman that was like, because it was like an incline of an audience. So, they were going up. So I could see every single one of their faces.
Okay, yeah. Right.
And this woman was like eye level with me. I'm like 9 months pregnant. And when I was pregnant, like all my opening lines were about being pregnant. And it was like, it was great actually, because like people don't expect pregnant women to like say dirty things. And so people are like, oh my God, so it was great. But I got like 5 minutes in. And she was like just talking really loudly to her person she was with. I had been doing comedy like 2 years, and I hadn't even gigged outside of Scotland before. I felt very inexperienced to deal with this. But she started saying to me, I was like, "Are you okay?" I had to address it because it was so loud. Everybody was like, "Shh," everybody was like, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "I know what this is. I know what this is. You're not really pregnant and you're making these." She basically was like, you're faking that you're pregnant so you could make these jokes. She was like, I've seen this act before. I've seen it before. It's not original. You shouldn't be saying these things when you're not really pregnant. And I was like, I am really pregnant. And the reason it was the worst was because it was like, I was so frozen that I couldn't think of an insult. And also like my pregnancy brain was going like, what if this woman has like lost a baby or something and she's getting really internally offended because I'm like making abortion jokes and all these things.
That's horrific.
That I was like, yeah. And so like my empathetic like pregnancy brain was like, don't be mean to her. Even though I should have been, because she was being an asshole. And it was like so humiliating. And what I ended up doing was I ended up going, okay, these jokes are obviously bothering you, so I'll move on to another type of joke. And so I did. So I moved on to another bit of my set. So she kind of got what she wanted. But the rest of the audience were like so on my side and lovely.
Oh, that's good.
So that was great. And I got literally like 5 private messages afterward being like, we are so sorry. I think it was obvious that I wasn't that experienced either and that she was like really flustering me. And then when Matt Reed got back on stage, he like totally ripped her a new one and kicked her out.
That's horrific.
Like, I know, it was so bad. And the worst bit was that I felt like I had failed as a comedian by not dealing with this in the right, because you want to tell that story and be like, and I told her, look at my pussy, bitch. And, you know what I mean? Like I should have said something like that, but I don't have that. That's why it was the worst. Because I felt like I didn't deal with it properly. Because sometimes you get a bad heckle and you deal with it and you're like, I'm a fucking superhero.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I had one in air which was fucking mental. Like, I didn't even know where it came from. I talked about how I had 2 pet rats, John and Richie, named after Bon Jovi, so giving rats a bad name. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, no, but they're dead now, but I still like to do that joke. And I was sort of joking around. And then this woman shouted, "Did you get an autopsy?" And she was really serious, like, you should have got an autopsy to find out how they died. But rats die after 3 years because they have short lives, bless them.
So she was making it real.
She was making it real, and like it's CSI Scotland or something. Like,
and what did you say?
I went, I don't know what to say to this. I'm really sorry. No, I didn't get an autopsy. I didn't know what to do.
How much would that cost?
It's not like I can go, yeah, bitch, boom.
Jesus.
I didn't know what to say. What would you have said?
I'd be like, no, I didn't get a fucking autopsy. Like, why would I do that? It's a rat. Like, they lived for 3 years. What do you want? The way I deal with heckles is I just answer them real.
Yeah.
And that usually works best for me because I'm like, I can't deal with your idiocy. Do you know? It's like if I just have that annoyed voice on, usually people. And the good thing with that is that usually the audience is like on your side and hates hecklers. So if you just say something about how annoying they are, they're like, woohoo.
But the people were really nice to me afterwards, and then there's some guy who I'd been speaking to, before the gig, who was quite friendly, but I could sense that he was friends with her.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to apologize, but he also didn't want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was weird.
That's the weirdest bit is like, see, because in my pregnancy heckle, she was with obviously a female friend and her male partner. And while she was saying this to me, the male partner stood up and walked out of the theater because he was like humiliated that she was doing this.
Oh,
And I was like, your boyfriend just left. Like, oh God.
Did I get a big laugh?
No. It was so uncomfortable because she was shouting so much. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just, I have another bad one as well.
Go for it.
This is fully my fault. This was also in Air. Shout out to Air. I was doing a gig. You probably know the gig. I won't say the name of it.
Is that on? Yes, I probably do, yeah.
I'll tell you later. But yeah, it's the one we all do in Air. And it's a
lovely gig.
At a pub. It is actually. And I started my set. I was opening. I was going okay. But I did my line about I have no idea what part of Ireland this is.
Nice.
And this guy was like, it's not Ireland, it's Scotland.
God.
And then I proceeded to like cut into this guy so hard and be like, oh my God, you're like so stupid. Or I didn't say that. I was like something like, wow, the people of Air are so intelligent or something like that. And I'm like, they didn't like it. And I realized later that I think this guy was like mentally challenged.
Oh no.
Oh my God. And obviously they all knew him.
Yeah.
So they were like, who is this bitch making fun of like Steve? Who's, you know?
No.
And I just died on my hole the rest of the gig because they were just like, who is this American like bitch? Like it was awful. I just wanted to die.
This isn't a hack. What's your funny hackle story then that you tell on stage?
It was in Dundee, and somebody said I used to do this bit. I don't know if you remember it, where I would say, it's like, how come some mothers can like post a selfie with them, drinking a huge glass of red wine, but when I post a selfie with me smoking a bong, everybody's like, wow, Krystal, you're a mother now. You need to go. You know, obviously it's a joke.
Yeah.
But like somebody was like, you should smoke weed again. Maybe you'd be funnier.
Oh,
I know.
Cool.
And I think I said something like, joke's on you because I am high. And I got a really big laugh. And I was doing really well, so I don't know why he was being so mean.
I hate that. When you have the energy of doing well.
Yeah.
When it's going well and someone just shouts something.
Yeah.
I think they're just jealous.
They must be. Or negging me.
What's nagging? Oh,
it's like when you're mean to a woman to try and get her to like you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Incel. Yeah, exactly.
Incel shit. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you get a lot of that kind of off of men at gigs?
I have sometimes, but it's not. I think it's weird. I mean, God, I don't want to. It's as you get older, it happens less. Because you're not so. As human beings get older, we're not so stupid anymore. And I think when women are really young and like we get it loads. And then
5G has a good bit about getting older and then like walking past the builders and like wearing a nice top and being like, what? Nothing.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's the crux of it all because it's like, cool, I'm not getting disrespected anymore because they just see me as an invisible person. You're like, amazing. No, but like sometimes I remember when I first started, there was a comedian. Again, I'll tell you who this is later. But I was doing a gig. I'd been going like less than a year. And we were driving. He was driving me home, and he was like, said something along. I had done great at this gig.
Yeah.
I had done a 10, and he had opened with a 15 or something. And he was like, he said something along the lines of, "You're not really good enough to do a 15 yet, and you're like, your material's not really strong enough for that yet."
Need for that.
I know. And I was like, oh. And I always like in my head, I never think somebody would try and be mean.
Yeah.
So it doesn't occur to me until later that I'm like, hey, wait a second. You know?
Yeah, that's why I don't understand passive aggression. I'm just
I know,
like, yeah, okay.
I know, exactly. And because I told my husband about it later, he was like, he said that? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that's fucking rude. I was like, is it? So I was like, oh, I think he was being rude. Yeah, and fast forward to now, he's fucking nowhere. So
Oh, good. Tell me his name.
I will.
I had someone that worked at the stand at the Glasgow one, and they were like a manager or something. They don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
And I had it was a horrific gig, but it was one of those ones where I'd done a gig in the day, and it went brilliantly. And Raymond Mearns, who I adore, gave me a lift to this Glasgow gig at the stand, and he was telling me how amazing I was and how I'm brilliant. And I thought, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I went up thinking I'm ace.
Yeah.
And they did not. It was fucking horrific. It was the worst. It started silence, and it got to the point where they were laughing at me.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I was having a drink at the bar, just trying to forget it. And this person that worked at the Glasgow stand went, "You should never do comedy. You should give up." He was like whispering it to me. He was like, "You're a good writer, maybe, but you should not do comedy. You're not a good performer."
Who said this? Oh my
I can't say. He doesn't
God.
work. He worked there years ago. He doesn't work there anymore.
Did you tell somebody?
I didn't know. Not.
You should.
I was so
That's
ashamed
bad.
of myself.
Oh, Martin.
And then the worst part was that after it, I bumped into some of the audience who were at the gig, and I was at a bar, and they were all kind of going, "Oh, do you want a drink?" and like laughing at me. And I took the drink and then fucked off.
Oh my God. The things we go through.
Yeah, it was horrific.
Jesus. I had a few, we all love, oh my God, who did you just talk about a second ago? Raymond Mearns. Fucking hell, my brain. Speaking of getting older, we all love Raymond Mearns. He's the best. And I've had like 4 or 5 gigs with him recently. And I think 3 or 4 of those I've done badly at them in front of Raymond. And I've been like, fuck. Do you know what I mean? Just
I hate when someone you look up to.
But then like I did a weekend at Glasgow Stand with him just there, and it was great. And he was like, "Krystal, you've really improved."
Oh, that's always good, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, oh God.
It's like they totally change around you when they see you've had an amazing gig.
It's weird how like audience reaction can influence all of us to think someone's good or bad. You know, it's like, I know that sounds obvious, but it's like I think I can remember a few comedians who I know are brilliant comedians who, when I first started, I just so happened to see them do badly 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh God, that poor guy, you know?
Like one of them.
No.
I think I remember having a few dodgy gigs.
Oh yeah.
When you were on, and you always done really well.
Oh.
And there was one gig where you left early and had a really good gig, and I thought, damn it, Krystal.
Sorry.
I thought like you have a family.
Written to me afterward. Listen, just so you know.
I recorded it and I'll send you. Yeah.
No, but then it's like it's weird. Like, but there's some people who aren't influenced. But my husband actually is one of them. Like whenever he comes to gigs, I love hearing my husband's opinion on people because he is not influenced by audience reaction.
Oh, really?
No, not at all. If he doesn't like someone and everybody's going nuts for them, he's like, I do not get it. Or he'll be like, I found him quite funny, but the audience didn't. Like, he's just like sees what he sees. And I'm like, that's actually a really good
It's got good
quality.
Yeah.
Or he knows what he likes, I guess. Yeah, so.
Because sometimes you see people and they're absolutely smashing it and you think, oh, they're horrible.
Yeah.
And you hate the audience.
Or because as a comedian, we know the tricks and like the things, the stock lines and, hosting and stuff like that, where I'm like, oh, God, none of us are above that. I need to stop using this. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to point at you when I said that. I used that a few times recently, and in my head I went, oh, don't do that more. And we all do that, though. we all are guilty of it, especially.
Or lovely to see you again to an audience member.
Yes!
You were in the joke.
Or what about the one where it's like, and then I said, okay, Mom and Dad. You know what I mean?
It's going to make a note of that. Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad.
Or when you get happy, you go, thanks,
Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
See if you can understand
another
another
question.
one.
Okay. I'll take this one that's face up.
How
How often
That's promising.
do you change your club set? Is that what it said? Yes.
Hey,
Look, I can read. Look at that. Yeah, I read that. Not as often as most, probably. I get really sick of my stuff, and then I'm probably lazy with it. But I think I'm of the belief that I think most people change their set too much.
Well, I often think in July you get everyone's, putting stuff in the middle of their set for the to try out for the Fringe. I sometimes think that can damage a night a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
it can.
audience have paid money. They're there to see your kind of the best jokes. I'm kind of with the Jerry Seinfeld thing where it's like, it's about the act and building the act up.
I so agree. Like, I so agree. And I don't know. It's tough because I think we all go through the thing where we're like, oh God, are all of my coworkers thinking, why the fuck is she still doing that joke? You know?
I do, yeah.
But I'm just like, they don't see nobody sees your set as much as you.
Yeah.
You know?
Or your partner.
Yeah. And
I think my girlfriend at the moment is just so sick of my set. I used to send her gigs going, this is an alright one. And now she's going, well, you don't have to send me them all.
Yeah. Oh my God. She's like, you're going to make me watch this again. God, my husband would kill me if I did that. No. but like, you have to do what works, especially like last night I was headlining the Best of Fringe Thursday nights.
Oh yeah.
And I asked Liam, I'm like, I see like everybody, it's a new material night except for the headliner. And I get that because I'm like, it's a bunch of dodgy new material.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then the last person has to have solid stuff. So I'm like, yes, I can do that. I'm glad not to do new material. It's scary. But yeah, God, I don't know. I probably just don't. I'm also very, very bad at memorizing. I'm so bad at it. And I can write something and I just need to read it a few times on stage before I can memorize it. And I can't memorize it until it works on stage. I don't know why. I didn't used to be this way, but...
Well, I'm like, what's the point of memorizing something that's not going to work? You know what I mean? I started using these cards a lot more. They're a lifesaver. Yes. And if it doesn't work, I just kind of throw the card away. Go, that was shite.
Into someone's face. No, that's probably... I change my opening and closing lines maybe once every year or two. And even those, I have a few to choose from.
I mean, Vlad, we're talking about your sarcastic joke, which is...
Oh, that's been in for about 6 years, yeah.
It's so good, though.
And I just added a new bit to it.
Oh, what is it?
Oh, it's where I go, resting sarcastic voice, and then I do a few examples. My first one is, what is my first?
Your first one is like... The last one is sorry for your loss.
Oh, I hope you're having... I hope you have a nice day. I'm sorry for your loss. I love you, too. And then I just added on, yeah, that feels really good. Where I take out, I'm sorry for your loss. I actually watched a really, really old comedy special recently where a guy, I can't remember his name. It's this guy who has a big smiley face and really big teeth. He's American. He's very tall. And he says that it doesn't sound right saying I'm sorry for your loss in his voice. So I'm like, oh my God, is somebody going to think I stole that? So I've kind of taken out I'm sorry for your loss and I've replaced it with, but sometimes it's muscle memory and I just say it. So I go, I hope you have a nice day. I love you too. Yeah, that feels really good. So I'm like, you can do, I've seen comedians who take like their tactic with changing their material ends up being to change their current shit. Yeah. Rather than like, take a tree and like add on to it rather than rip it out by the roots and a totally new set, that can be liberating too.
I like to always add a new 5, and then add it to the club set and then work it and a heap of new material nights and then have a new 5 to open the club set because then it freshens it up for me. But I've also got the reliable stuff to fall back on,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my answer. Mm-hmm. Shall I get another one?
Yeah, go for it. I can't believe you can understand them.
I know. I'm brilliant. I do have an 8-year-old.
You've got kids, haven't you?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh, I might need help with this one.
Oh, no.
Do you read round?
Do you read your reviews?
Yes. Do I read my reviews? Yeah, I do. I do indeed.
Even the bad ones.
Well, I mean, how would I know?
Hey.
How would I know unless I read it? I am a confident person, but I think I'm not yet confident enough as a comedian to not read them. Yeah. I think I'm just like in the Fringe. I read them all as they came in. And I was really excited about my show last year. And I was just like, come on, let's see it. The first couple reviews that came in last year were 3 stars, and I was gutted. They were like, ooh, they were like, not even this that classic like it's a 3-star, but it reads like 4. It was like one of those reviews. It was like they didn't say anything negative, but yet it was 3 stars. So I'm like, come on. one guy was like, "Oh, I feel like it's missing something." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "What the fuck, man?"
Because your show was about, it's called The Hottest Girl
at Burn Camp. Yeah.
I was gonna say boot camp, burn camp.
I can't believe you asked me on the show and you haven't seen that
I know,
because it's so traumatic. I thought that's why.
I was supposed to see it a few weeks ago, and
then it's okay.
I couldn't make it because something else come up.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and see it tomorrow, which is a bit annoying because it's right after this.
Oh, right. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, God, it's totally fine.
Would you mind talking about what it's about?
Sure. Yeah. It's about my house burned down when I was 14. And I escaped out of the fire, like barely. So I like barely survived, and I got burned and smoke inhalation. It's about that, but it's also about like my traumatic upbringing with my mother, who's mentally ill, and a lot of crazy shit that happened leading up to it and then after it. So I mean, it's like the deepest, darkest shit of my life, really.
Did you deal with it, the fire? Did you deal with the stuff at the time with therapy, or did you just kind of?
So at the time, at the time they did put me in therapy, but I didn't connect with my therapists back then. I got 2 different therapists when I was a teenager, and they sucked, to be honest. Like, I remember one was literally this woman who was like, she was so hyper and high energy, and she was blonde, and she was like, I'm just painting a picture, and she would always wear pink. She was like Elle from Legally Blonde, you know? And I was like, I was like burnt Daria. Like, I was not into this woman. Like, and she literally told me one time that she was like prom queen and stuff. And I was just like, I hated her. You know what I mean? It was not the right therapist for me.
And then you don't have the confidence at the time to say anything.
I mean, I didn't even know what to say. I was 14. You know, I was like, when you're 14, you're just not a kid anymore. And then you're getting into this age where, like puberty's happening and all this stuff. And then this big traumatic thing happened. And I was expected to talk about it when really I didn't even know what it was I had gone through. Like, I didn't really even know, like, how it would impact the rest of my life. And I also didn't know what a big deal it was. Like, I really didn't. Because whatever you go through as a kid, you just think that's normal.
You just accept it.
Yeah. So I was just like, well, surely everybody's been through something like this. Or at least knows somebody who's been through something like this, right? And I was just like, I just didn't know. So it was hard for me to talk about it. Also, my mom made it super hard for me to talk about it because she, was the opposite of me. She was a bag of emotion. She showed it openly to everyone. And then, so I was like the opposite, right? So yeah, that's what my show's about. It's so funny.
And do you remember at the time the other kids' kind of reactions, and did that make you go, "Oh, this is maybe a big deal"?
Yes. The town, we lived in a very small town, so like their reaction.
What was the town called?
Squim.
Where's that?
In Washington State.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And yeah, it was the whole town knew what had happened, so we got tons of like reaction and support and all this stuff, and it was really intense. We were poor before the fire, but then we lost everything in the fire. I remember this time when I was at school, and like I was at school, and it was in choir, I think, and at the start of class my teacher came up to me and was like, "I think this is for you," and it was like a carrier bag full of used clothes. So somebody in the class had obviously been told by their mom or whatever to give me some used clothes and gave it to the teacher, which is sweet.
Yeah.
But I was humiliated. In
front of everyone.
Like, in front of the whole class. And I was just like, I took it and I just threw it under my chair. And I was just like, oh my God. And like, so that was like, I was, and I feel bad about that now because whoever it was, obviously probably saw me do that. But they had been forced by their mom or dad to like give me those clothes. And so, yeah, like a few things like that happened that I just tried to I just had to completely be in denial, never talk about it, and just go on with my life because it was just like, it was too embarrassing.
And then revisiting all, because I done a show about 2 years ago, which is about kind of childhood trauma. Yeah. And then you end up bringing it all up in ways you don't expect.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally did. And the pandemic was really what made me want to write about it, because I had just had a baby and I had postnatal depression, and I started getting all these really weird flashbacks from the fire and stuff. And I was like, oh, I thought that I was over this.
Yeah.
But apparently not. And like having my own kids has like brought up other things and stuff like that. And, you know, the isolation of the pandemic, and I was starting to get like bad intrusive thoughts and all these things. And so I sought therapy, and I did therapy over Zoom, and I did like exposure therapy and all this stuff to do with the fire. And it was really hard, but it made me realize that I really wanted to write about it, because I was like, oh, this is like, you know, a really big deal. Not that I didn't know it was a big deal, but like it was
emotionally you're starting to realize.
Yeah. So that's why I wrote about it. And because I kind of thought when I started comedy, like, yeah, maybe I'll write about that someday, but it's not, you know, nobody wants to hear about this traumatic shit. Like, it's not funny, and also it's embarrassing, and, you know, all these things. But then I started talking about it. My friend Heather was the one who really, like, Heather Jordan Ross, she helps me.
Funny.
She's great.
You should do comedy again.
I know. She's great. Well, she's writing loads of comedy, and she's in production, and so she's still in the biz. She's just on the other side of it and stuff. And she helps direct things and punch up things. If anybody wants to hire her, they should. Absolutely. She can help you shape your show. And as she did with mine. So she was like, I talked it through with her one night. She was like, tell me the whole story. Yeah. Start to finish with no jokes. I was like, okay. So I told her, and then she would like jump in with jokes when she would think of them. And it was like the funniest night of my life. Like I was pissing myself laughing. Yeah. It was so funny. Because I was just like, how does one make this funny? Yeah. It's not funny. It's so sad. Yeah. You know, it's so sad. And like all the crazy details are so sad. But the way to make fun of it is just to make fun of it.
It makes you realize, and this is going to sound wanky, that gift of creativity. Do you know what I mean? It's such a cool thing to be able to express yourself in that way. Yes. Yeah. And I know that like some people can find jokes cruel, and you know, like almost like a bullying vibe. Yeah. But yeah, they can think that it's mean. But like I feel like when it's coming from you, like yourself, about your own stuff, it's actually, for me, it's healing and it's empowering. Yeah, you're owning it and stuff. Yes. Yeah. Cool. So yeah. Thank you for sharing that. You're welcome. Can we try one more question and then we can... Okay. Strangest bit? Strangest gig. I think we've covered that. Oh my God. Oh, maybe we haven't. I feel like I'm not gonna remember the strangest gig. Let's see what we got. Are you looking for another question? What do you think about right before you go on stage? I try and make my mind blank. Oh, okay. Yeah. Or sometimes I'll try and come up with a joke about the night and the room. Do a callback to something. Yeah, but I don't always think of that. That's not very interesting, is it? One more. I think about Princess Diana. I remember her beauty. Her beautiful face. Make up a move, your hair. Make up a movie your hair to promote, and a funny anecdote from the set. Oh, fucking hell. I didn't know this was improv. A movie you're here to promote. I'm here to promote my movie about a houseplant that comes to life, and it shits everywhere. I can't do this, Martin. I'm terrible at this. All right, let's go for one last one then. Biggest guilty pleasure? Guilty pleasure. Oh, I love musical theater. I love musicals. Fucking love them. What's your favorite musical? I like Wicked. I like The Last 5 Years. I like Sunday in the Park with Jers. I hated it. That's fine. You can hate it. Sound of Music. All the Disney shit. What do you do if you get writer's block? Just free write. That's good. Free write. Just write nonsense for pages and pages and pages. I've read a lot of times that like writer's block's not real. It's just something we tell ourselves is happening. We have to just write. And that's true. You have to just write, and it's not up to you whether it's good or bad. You almost like feel like it's a flow coming from the universe or something. Or write about not being able to write. Yeah. Write about anything.
I am being very preachy right now, but I do not follow this advice. I'm like, fuck it, I can't do this right now. I have a headache.
What's the last joke you wrote?
Oh, the last joke I wrote. I think I call my hospitality show. I was like, I said something like, I smell like grease when I'm, because when you work in a fast food restaurant, the grease like embeds itself into your skin.
Oh yeah.
And then I was like, packs of stray dogs follow me around town. They would call me Snow White Trash.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'll have to punch it up. Nobody laughed in this room.
I think that's us then.
Okay,
Thank you so
great.
much. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome, Martin. Thank you. This has been great.
Is that all right?
Krystal burps, 24:30-ish. Wow. Fucking hell.